You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me.
Yes, indeed. This is Unsealed, the official podcast of Wings of the Eagle. This is where Bible prophecy and current events collide. Haven't used that phrase in a while, but I think it's really important today, especially today's topic. And so I welcome you. I please ask you to do one thing, which is share this video. Share it. Subscribing, yes, great. Liking, great. Supporting us, great. Hit the support button on YouTube or go to the Patreon page you see below, patreon.com/Wings of the Eagle. Several ways to support the podcast and what we do here for a living directly. And that's the only way we do it. There is no other funding. So come on in and help us out. There's a lot of different ways to do that. We are all about Wings of the Eagle. One of the things is the unseen realm, which we've been concentrating on a lot, which has to do with UFOs. And the because they appear and disappear out of nowhere. So it's somewhere in there. God is not blind. We believe God is real. He loves you. He sent Jesus to die in your place, so you don't have to be judged on your sins. You just confess to God that you are a sinner, accept the sacrifice of Jesus on your behalf, believe that he died for you, and that he rose from the dead. He's alive right now in heaven and will return soon. That's called Christianity. You accept that, if you believe that, confess and believe, you are saved. Amen. That's called the gospel. Okay. But what I wanted to bring up today is I'm kind of nervous, actually, to talk about it. So if you could help with that, if you could chime in and show your support, you would be greatly appreciated. Just leave a comment, thumbs up, question, whatever. Wherever you're watching this, we're on YouTube, of course, we're on Facebook, we are on X, and we are on Instagram. Instagram's always funny. I don't even know who's watching there. But anyways, it's available to you. So please tell somebody about it. All right, now so let's talk about this. Iran is, most people don't know this, I guess, despite the sincerest efforts of Wings of the Eagle and End Time Church, which is where I pastor, there is a dearth of understanding around Iran's role in the future. And as someone who believes that God is real and that God has spoken and that God has promised certain things, and it's called prophecy, before they happen, and that's the way it's going to be. There's nothing you can do about it, or I can do about it, or that I would want to do anything about it. He's the Father and he knows best. So that's what prophecy is about, trusting him. And so Iran plays a major role. And in fact, though even Christians who are into prophecy like all the time, or love that topic, are all mixed up and messed up about this. You either think the rapture is happening tomorrow, which it's not. It's wrong place on the timeline. You think Jesus is just going to show up one day, make everything better. That's not going to happen. Again, misunderstandings. Or maybe you think it's the Antichrist can show up at any moment. Not true. God has laid all this out. And even to the point where many of us who are studying these things might agree on a lot, there are some things that are unclear. Anyway, Iran is the next thing to occur. Now, here's the issue with that. And I'm not going to get into a full Bible study. I've linked in the comment on YouTube below the direct link to the full verse-by-verse teaching that I did on the book of Daniel, chapter 8. There are others, places where you can go, but that's the most direct place where the Bible talks about Iran and what they're going to do. Now, a key component, and if the short version is, Iran is going to invade the Middle East. Not Israel, but its neighbors to the west, north, and south, as you see in the thumbnail to this video. When that happens, per Prophet Daniel, and if we take the corresponding passage of Revelation chapter 6, where it goes over what we call the 7 seals, and we find out that the seals and these steps of prophetic fulfillment are in the book of Daniel as well. And we can line up 1, 2, 3, and 4 in these series. And the first, I believe, has already occurred. But the second involves Iran. It involves it invading its neighbors, as I just said. Get a better angle for the mic there. And but the aspect to that invasion is that in Revelation it says there's a great sword involved. Giant sword. Like the biggest sword ever. And it leads to a bloodbath. Okay. That's interesting. Why not just a regular old sword? Why not just they had victories on the battlefield or you know, whatever this is talking about? It's just they conquered stuff, but it's not. Something different, extra, larger, more deadly, more unstoppable. That is also echoed in Daniel, where it says when Iran does invade, it goes in every direction it wants, and no one can stop it. No one can stop it. No other country that it's in, at least, can stop it. And maybe it means nobody on earth can stop it. Why not? You know, there's a component of mystery or something that's said but not understood, which is there is some type of look. It's always been, and I'm calling myself out on this. It's always been understood, even people who see the scripture in the way that I'm telling you. Is that whether you think it's in the past or in the future that the Iranian or Persian kingdom, when it invades, it's just is successful. There's nothing special about the weapons that it's using or whatever. But the fact that it's so unstoppable, and there's this thing called the Great Sword. I've puzzled and thought and pondered and prayed about this for many months now. And I always just assumed this meant nuclear weapons. And that's kind of what people in my orbit who study these things think it is. It's right, because there's a famous, not so secret nuclear program that Iran has, and we all know that it's there. Depending on how you think they're going with that, maybe they have a bomb, maybe they don't. But that's just it. It would be a nuclear weapon, not 1,000 nuclear weapons. It would be one or a small number, and as far as we can tell, and because we're trying to see where they're at their progress, even though they're lying about it, right? We know that. But even if they did have a small number of them, they would be low grade. They would be low yield. In other words, like 80-year-old technology, like the bombs we dropped on Japan. Now, as horrible as that is, and as destructive as it was, you cannot conquer the entire Middle East with one of those, or 2 of those, or 5 of those, or 10 of those. It's just not happening. So it's impractical. I mean, it's illogical. Okay, even if nuclear weapons was the answer, and why wouldn't? And again, okay, God can do what He wants, and He can stop people, and He can make people have success. I grant you that, right? But why wouldn't some other nation just nuke Iran and be done with it? As soon as they use it, there's not going to be anybody who says don't do that. whether it's Turkey, who's right next door, they have nuclear weapons from us. They have American weapons there. The Saudis have been begging somebody to give them weapons because they're afraid of Iran. Israel, we know, has nuclear weapons. India, Pakistan, we know, have nuclear weapons. And that's not saying nothing of the superpowers, the Russias, the Chinas, the Americas. Many places in Europe have them. So, like, it seems like something else is going to be needed, or that it's talking about something else, something beyond what other nations have. Now, what could that mean? What could that be? And so through the last year or so here, going through this UAP UFO topic, and a big part of this is realizing and studying and getting evidence together that clearly, whatever this other intelligence is, whether you believe it to be extraterrestrial or interdimensional, ultra terrestrial, I don't know, whatever, or future humans, whatever, that they have many times taken a keen interest in our nuclear technology or our weaponry, to make sure we don't use it, or to demonstrate that they're in control if they want to be. Right? We've talked about this before. There have been many instances where, not a whole lot, but a few well-documented ones, where UFOs have come to nuclear weapons sites and shut off ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, and turn them on themselves. There's lots of other testimony from Russia in the USSR days and all this stuff. So they've taken, whatever it is, it's taken an interest in that. And it seems like, certainly the modern age of when UAPs or UFOs show up at military installations, that we don't do anything about it. We ignore it, literally ignore it. They're just hanging around. They can be there. We're not. I did a podcast a couple weeks ago. Remember about the Langley, Virginia UAP swarm drones, they call it, right? That were in the airspace, and they had to move the Raptors and all this stuff, but they're not shooting at them. So they've reached the conclusion, apparently. We're drawing conclusions because it's not being admitted to any of this. But it seems like even if we wanted to shoot them down, we can't. Not one of them has been brought down. Not one of them has been captured. Not one of them has been destroyed. And yet they're allegedly just human technology. I don't think so. I think there's something, we're afraid. I think we have an agreement not to shoot them, or we just stop because we can't. We have shot at UFOs before, by the way. And some people, and as recently as last year, when maybe somebody like President Biden, who perhaps isn't read into all the facts and details and the history, decides to say, okay, shoot down anything you see in northern Canada, northern Alaska, which was what happened last January or February. Well, they can't say no to the president, so they got to do it. The point is, it seems like, hello, bondservant, checking in. Say hello. I see you guys out there. Just say hi. It seems like there's pretty much anyone who studies this topic will say, well, whatever they are, whatever this technology of the UFOs and whatever this intelligence behind it, whether they're unmanned or manned, okay, or they have pilots or whatever, it's clear that what we see, whether they in the air or in space or under the water, they behave in ways that are far beyond what we can do. We understand what can be done, and this is just far beyond, right? The speeds, the turns, the angles, the G-forces, the disappearing and reappearing, all that stuff is not something humans can do. We don't know how that's done. So the point is, whatever that is, they are at such a level of understanding and wisdom or advancement, whatever, that their technology would toy with ours. Like whatever we have is nothing, is what the message seems to be. Hey, T-Rex, she's driving. Okay, you keep on being safe there. You know, I see you. Thank you. So it seems like their, whatever you call it, technology or wisdom advancement, whatever, is far more than what the nations of the world have right now. That's pretty obvious. I mean, I know some people are really hung up on, well, anything really unidentified is actually just secret black tech. And that's fine. Right? If you're going to think that, that's fine. We don't really have anything else to discuss, because not only has that been denied by people who have come out and said they know what's going on, like Chris Mellon, and Gallaudet and stuff like that. They say it's definitely not ours, and we know it's not ours. But if you don't believe them, fine. But I'm not talking about today. Go back to the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, where the exact same vehicles, or whatever you want to call them, have been here and have been contacting or messing with us or whatever, shutting down nukes and stuff like that, and visiting nuclear sites. That has been going on before we ever could build a drone of any kind, or build a more than a simple airplane. And so it just doesn't fly that it's our stuff in a black project. So anyway, if there is such a civilization, whatever it is, wherever it's from, I'm not talking about origins or even motivation, or what do you call it? What's their goal? Beyond all that, it's clear that they have stuff that's better than our stuff. Okay, so what if? Here's the scenario, and I'll stop. What if what the Bible is talking about, when Iran invades her neighbors and has such stunning, complete success that all the nations are stupefied? We can't fight against this, basically. We're being routed everywhere they go. They have complete victory because they have this quote unquote great sword. Okay, one nuclear weapon of a Hiroshima level is not a great sword. It would have been in 1930. So if it's not nuclear weapons, what is it? It could be that either the non-human intelligences, whatever, themselves are going to let Iran have this technology that would allow them to have all this victory. Why would they do that? I don't know. Maybe there's another shoe to drop in that, or maybe some of us, some regular humans, have figured out how to use a weapon based on their technology. And that's the reason for the extreme secrecy. But here's the problem with that, is that America, and I know we catch all the blame, and we should, for the secrecy. But guess what? Since we did it, maybe not because we did it, but we are doing it, and so is China, and so is Russia. Their own programs. We're not together on this. There is no international cooperation with the Chinese and the Russians on UFOs. There isn't. Because they want their hands on the stuff. They want to colonize the moon, for example. They want to launch what they want to launch. They want to do what they want to do. So if the situation basically is, well, whatever these UFOs or UAPs, we've agreed not to fight them. So we're going to fight each other like normal, and we're going to develop technologies. What if China, for example, or Russia, because they're both working with Iran right now, what if China or Russia comes out and discloses the UFO truth, okay, that they have recovered craft for decades and worked on it and created a new weapon. And we are going to give this weapon to the Iranians to equalize the playing field, or I don't know what. I don't know. It's just a scenario. In that case, you will have a non-human weapon, or a weapon that was made by non-humans and understood by humans, and now we can make one. So in that sense, it's human, but it's just a scenario. But we would never have gotten that information if not for these non-human weapons existing. Another nation gives that to Iran to do whatever they want, and that's how it happens. That's sobering, right? Nobody wants a crazy government to go gallivanting around like Hitler and causing trouble in the most troublesome spot in the world as it is. But now that we've had I forgot to mention this at the beginning, the Iranian president, and we know a president of Iran is not like the president of America. Okay, it's a figurehead. It's administrative title. It's not. He doesn't have any power really. All the power is in the supreme leader and the supreme council, right? The mullahs, we call it the mullahs. They're the power and the leaders, and they choose who the president is. Frankly, they support one guy, and then there's an election, quote unquote, and then that guy always wins. So now that this one has died, who knows why? Maybe it was an accident, maybe it wasn't. But now they have to fill that role. But to me, the more important question is, based on the text of the Bible, which is what I think that's where the real wisdom and information will come from, not from our imaginations or our theories, is that the next supreme leader of Iran could be the one who does this invasion. And so I'll just leave it at that. But so with leaders dying in Iran, yes, it should bring us to attention as far as what is possibly around the corner. And when you combine this with the UAP NHI issue, if it's about to be exposed in some way, whether it be by America, whether it be leaks and whistleblowers, or the government actually just finally admits it, or China or Russia doing it, that would be what people inside the Beltway call catastrophic disclosure. It's not controlled anymore. We don't control the narrative. It's actually a catastrophe because now it's just out there and who knows what comes next, right? Hey, David, now you have a good thought. Like a laser or a ray. Well, here, maybe like a lightsaber. Yeah, that would be pretty rad. There you go. Well, I've talked about this before, that we have what we call now directed energy weapons, DEWs. Okay, some of them are scary and invisible, like what is causing this Havana syndrome thing. It looks like we've developed those weapons, which it's unfortunate. But there's the more traditional laser weapons, and those are actually real things. And we have a program in it. The British have one for sure, and the Israelis have one. And what I talked about a couple times already is this I think someone's got to investigate this more. They were starting to use these. I forgot the name of it. My brother from India reminded me last time. It's not called Iron Dome. It's called Iron something or other because it's the laser version. It's extremely effective and extremely inexpensive, and yet they're not using it. In fact, when the Hamas war started, they were using it. And all of a sudden, what I understand is tons of UFOs started appearing in the Middle East and around Israel. And apparently the message was delivered to Netanyahu and the defense, the IDF, is stop using the laser and then the UFOs will go away. That's really what I understand to be the case. Now, who told them that? I don't know. But they stopped, okay? The fact is they've stopped and now using the regular old Iron Dome, which is pretty good. It's pretty darn good. But it's not as effective or as inexpensive as a laser system. So David's point is well made that maybe these UFOs really hate this laser system because they can actually be fought with them or something. Or their weaponry is similar to that and they want us to stop developing it because maybe they'll get to the level that they have and now they won't have an advantage anymore. I don't know. But maybe. Laser is definitely sword shaped. Well, it looks like a lightsaber. That kind of sword, right? It could be. In fact, and so bondservant soup, almost forgot you there. Sorry. It's she says, does Islam have any writings on UFOs or something? Not that I know of. I don't know if they would call them evil or I don't know. I've never seen anything about it that I recall. Not that I'm an expert, but I am interested, obviously, in that the Islamic end time scenario, which pretty easy to go find out about. I don't know. But speaking of a sister who's might have seen such or have information, is that there, folks have seen in a vision form like a sword, like a big laser fiery thing that looked like a sword coming out of Iran. So where'd they get that from? If that's a real thing. Do you know what I mean? Because that's nothing that I know about. So it seems like for Iran to do what it's mandated to do in the Bible. Again, I'm not saying this is a for sure 100%. I don't pretend to know that, but it's possible that just based on the language and the lay of the land today, again, even if the most terrible weapons, okay, everyone usually would say nuclear weapons, but that's usually in the context of obviously the destructive power of a particular bomb, but also the fact that if it was used by a major nation, that other nations would instantly get involved and use their nuclear weapons. That's the real fear, right? If Iran did it, no one would be on their side, you would think, but Russia and China might. So here we go. But the point is, so many people have them, it wouldn't be an advantage. Even if they had a couple of nuclear weapons in Iran and they decided to invade and use them, in a forward, like a battlefield tactical way. Well, the tactical battlefield nukes that you're following up, invasion after you drop it, have to be smaller even. They're not the big giant bombs. They're smaller. Therefore, for, again, tactics, like you're just shooting a particular building or a part of a city or something like that. That's what tactical nukes are for. But even the point is, even if they did that, it wouldn't be the condition that the Bible describes. It wouldn't be an easy road. There'd be millions of soldiers on the other side ready to fight back, right? Like, I don't understand how they would proceed from there. They'd be dead. Like, that would be that. But the picture that Daniel 8, for example, and Revelation 6, but Daniel 8 really gives is an invasion force where they're going and conquering those lands. They're not just shooting and staying at home, right? They're not pushing a button and back at home in Iran. They're actually going into Iraq and they're going into Saudi Arabia, maybe even Turkey and Syria, to conquer those nations, to occupy them. So to control all that land and all that oil. That's the point. You can't do that if you launch, sit at home, hit a couple buttons, launch a nuclear volley or something that, again, we don't believe they have any nuclear weapons right now, any. But even if they did, it would be such a small number, and even if the number was more than one, the actual yield, the size of the nukes would be very small. The amount of material they have to make bombs is very little, so it could not be big, even Pakistan-sized nuclear weapons, and those are nothing compared to what Russia or the United States have. So maybe it's not nuclear, maybe it's biological weapons. Again, how do you do that without killing your own troops? Chemical weapons, same thing. So I think there's something else up. I think the Lord is telling the church, those who know Him and can hear His voice. I'm just going to be a little crazy Christian right here. Those who hear the Holy Spirit, I think He's speaking something else. Like there's another aspect to this that we haven't considered, and that could be the major reason why we haven't seen this prophecy fulfilled yet. Is that the weapon is not in place, and it's not a nuke. Bondservant says, if Israel was told to stop that weapon, who told them? Yeah, right. I have the same question. Kind of reminds me of Babel, like stop building, otherwise you're going to know all the secrets. Maybe, but we have it. We have what Israel has, as far as I can tell, and the UK also. So it's not just the weapon, but it seems like somebody knew what it was doing, and that you're creating a bigger problem by using them. I don't know what a bigger problem is than saving your country from Hamas, from rape gangs and beheaders. I don't know why you would hold back at all. But I'm thinking either the United States and the secret government here that's unelected and knows the UFO issue and what's it all about. Either they told them, or they were told some other way. God stopped them because of their advanced tech. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's the Tower of Babel, Genesis 10. No, you can stream your yarn. It's no problem. He does tell his servants ahead of time. That's what the book says. So, and what that means basically is stuff's already in the scripture. It's just that we don't know it's in there, or we haven't understood it. So he has told the prophets, even if they didn't understand. Like Daniel's a great example. Prophet Daniel was told all this incredible detail about the future. It's right there in the book. And it says it's about the future. It's about the end times. It's about the days far, far, far in your future, Daniel. Daniel didn't get it. He didn't know what it meant at all. He saw all these things and it's like, I don't know. I'm just writing down what I see, like I was told. But he didn't get it. So, yes, God may have, for example, he told Daniel, his prophet, ahead of time. But it doesn't mean Daniel himself would understand it. It means someone in the future is going to understand it. Which, again, especially if we're talking about Daniel personally, his book, that is the only book that was off limits for humans to understand even correctly until the time of the end. That's Daniel chapter 12. David says the sword is a symbol in many flags of Islamic nations. That's correct. One of the letters in Arabic is like a sword. I don't know which one, but I believe it's in the Bismillah or Allah. Letter like a sword. I'm sure you're right. I don't know what one it is. Like Saudi Arabia, for sure, that actually has two giant swords on the flag. Right. And many of them, it's real tiny in like the little artistic, graphic there, like Iran has them also, but they're more harder to discern, which may be a factor right there. Or is there maybe a special forces group in Iran or elsewhere called the Great Sword? Those are non-techie answers. That's a good thought. I mean, not that I know of. But whatever it is, again, like, okay, it's just, let's say it's a, sorry for the noise if you can hear that, like a special forces thing with a code name or whatever. Okay, but I don't know. Special forces is like, it would be like the whole Marine Corps. Like, you send them in first, right? And then you have follow. Okay, maybe, but why are they so effective? What do they have that no one else does? Why are they all running away? Basically, why are none of the other nations? Why can they not fight that? And if it's just technology, you can get guns from somewhere. You can get Russian or American or Chinese stuff pretty easily. Right. Yep. Bond servant. Yeah, we talked about this maybe before you joined. Great Sword of Revelation 2. Correct. Yeah. So I'm definitely layering that understanding of Revelation 2, Revelation 6, the second horseman, the red horseman, the second seal, with the second event in Daniel 7, which is described more in Daniel 8, which is the Persia or Iran invasion. And by the way, that's not the end of the story, right? We know, for those who might be thinking this is what I'm saying, it's about the Antichrist. It's not. This Antichrist does not come from Iran. He is not the leader of Iran. The war that Iran begins with this invasion will not produce the Antichrist either. It leads to him soon after that, but there are still steps to follow. And I know the prophecy community gets really annoyed at that. I don't know. I hear you. I share the wish, basically, that it would happen faster, or there would be no steps to go. We would just get the Antichrist, so we can get to the return of Jesus and get it over with. I hear you, but we can't choose that. I mean, we can't tell God how to write this story. It's already been written. We can't change it. We don't want to change it. We want to pray in agreement with his plan, right? God's will. That's God's will. He's already written it down. This is how it's going to be. So yes, we're overlapping those understandings. So I think it gives a really clear picture of what is next in prophecy. This is next. And I'll just leave it here, I guess, is that it's just possible that I'm becoming very convinced that it's talking about some kind of weapon that we've never seen, ever used, ever. And something so novel and powerful that nobody can resist it, that not even the great American United States can save you, or other countries, or coalitions, or sabotage. None of that will work. Nothing Israel or anyone else do will stop them. That's not the condition right now, right? We saw that. The Iran launched a couple weeks ago, remember? They launched, 300 projectiles, drones and missiles from all over the place at Israel, right? 300 of them, and 99% were shot down, either by Israel itself or American, British, and French, I think it was, in Syria and Iraq. So they can't even, they have what's 1/3 of 1%. Okay. Like, that's a very small success rate. And the one that did land I don't think it even hurt anyone. There was apparently a girl in a like a Bedouin, like basically in the desert. That's it. So they're not going to do it with what they got. So you see, Iran is not in the position now to go conquer anyone. And what happened after that? Remember, watch out, Israel's going to get you back. They did nothing, basically. They maybe sent a drone or a limited, small missile into a air defense grid or something. They basically did nothing, because no one wants this, really. So they got a warning out of it, a wrist slap. There's no problem once they're outside of the country. If you're in Syria or Iraq or Jordan, in Lebanon, Israel have no problem taking you down, or the Americans will have no problem taking you down. But actually in Iran, where they would just, no one will touch you if you just stay there. But they're not going to just stay there. That's what the Bible tells us, so that's what we can count on. I think it's very likely to be a weapon we don't know. Thank you, brother. That's pretty much what I'm saying. Yeah. And it's crazy for a lot of Bible folks. No, I get it. Hopefully the tide is turning on this, but I know for a fact that certain Bible students or people who like when I post Christian stuff or prophecy stuff or Bible stuff, hate the UFO topic and think I'm crazy. They can't put those two worlds together. And frankly, some of you UFO folks who maybe are watching this hate the fact that I talk about the Bible and that I'm a Christian and that somehow I think there's a truth out there and it's not necessarily benevolent alien life. I understand that. I'm kind of like Paul, trying to be everything to everyone as much as possible. Not to be phonies, but to be real, to be very real and open and honest, and to say, yes, I love things that are true. I love things that are real. I love God, and I love my neighbor, and I don't want people to die, and I don't want people to suffer, and I want you to be happy forever. That's what the real me is about. I want peace. I don't want war. I want to do the right things, right? Like, that's the real me. And so I don't see any issue with these high strangeness of this other topic plus the Bible stuff, because you Bible people have got to realize that the UFO people look at you in the same way. And bring Israel into it, and now you pissed off everybody, right? Not only is some Christians who hate Israel chiming in and say you're a whatever Antichrist for liking the Jews, and then the UFO people will put all the pro-Palestinian stuff on their pages or whatever, and I just trying to do my best here. I think God is speaking. The UFO thing is, some part of it in some way is real, and we have to just come to grips with that. It's only crazy sounding in an echo chamber, in my opinion. This makes sense. Well, T-Rex is not your average everyday. I want to say, what does Yogi Bear say? Whatever. Anyways, yeah, you're a little different like me, so I love that you say that. Wish more people held that view. But whatever. David says, could perhaps be demonic also. It might, or part of it might. There might be an aspect of it that could be. I'm glad you said could perhaps, because that's where I'm at. Okay. And Christians need to get there, because most Christians just say it's demonic. I know it is, the end. Like, and what are you talking about? Where do you get your information? Like, okay, how is a flying craft demonic? That's not demonic. It's a car. Anyways, I don't want to get into that. But thank you. You're right. It could be. And we need more information. We need more revelation from our governments and from the Lord on this. Bondservant says, if Iran wants the oil fields, it has to be a weapon that doesn't destroy, or doesn't destroy all that. Methinks that would be defeating their purpose. You're right. That's an excellent point. If you want to take over oil fields, you're not going to nuke the joint, right? Because the nuclear weapons will set the oil on fire and you can't use it now. Right? Yes. A very more, a much more precise weapon would be something like a laser. David says, like demonic, as in like the demons are helping. Oh, like why Iran succeeds, like if they were to invade and then they would have all the success because they have demonic help. I wouldn't argue necessarily with that. It's possible. But it's possible, but we've also got to. I got to stay with the text, right? Like, where does it say that? It doesn't say that specifically. It doesn't at all. It's presented in a very human way. Like, this is a nation. This is a force. This is an army. They conquer lands, just like always. But it wouldn't surprise me if there was that kind of assistance. What are tactical nukes? Those are smaller yield. In other words, the explosions are much smaller, and they're meant to be used with. They're sometimes called battlefield weapons. In other words, you're actually fighting with your forces on the ground, and it's a nuclear explosion, so it's really big and bad, but it's nowhere near what a standard, like a warhead on a missile, would be. They're much smaller. A lot, ICBM, something that has to go into space and fall down and explode in the air. That type of, they're just much larger. So tactical nukes are it's a tactic in a battle. It's not a strategic. Strategy is a major. The nukes that we hear about basically are the strategic arsenal, not the tactical. Also, isn't there a weapon where it doesn't destroy buildings, only people and animals? Well, that's more of a unless I'm just totally slipping. I don't know of anything other than what you would call a directed energy weapon, or there's like EMPs, but that doesn't hurt people. Those are electromagnetic pulse weapons that disable technologies, your computers and your electricity grid and stuff like that. Only people and animals. I don't really know. It's got to fall under the DW side. I don't even know if that's a deployable battlefield, conquer a country type of weapon. All right, let's riff on this demonic thing for a second. If we were just able to instantly know what was demonic and what wasn't, we wouldn't be commanded to test the spirits. We wouldn't need to. Well, that's an excellent point in and of itself, isn't it? You would just know. I just know it's demonic, right? But yeah, right. We have to discern these things because they're not out in the open. Hi, I'm a demon. Okay, so like David says, like demons are helping or help using the tech. Okay, this new weapon, like they're helping to use it or acquiring it. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what it would be. But again, like I don't want to assign whoever this NHI, okay, just to use the modern terminology, the non-human intelligence that's behind this UFO thing, if whether they're demons or whether they're other creatures from another galaxy or whether they're Earth creatures or whether they're creations themselves of some other humans or whatever, or some other force that could all be part of it, right? You're acquiring, you're helping to get it or to use it. Is there any clue other looking at the original Greek, or is it literally great sword? That's all it is. Revelation 6 verse 4. Another horse, fiery red, went out. It was granted the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, that people should kill one another, and there was given to him a great sword. That, let's see, There's got to be a button in my program here for the Greek, but I forget where it is. Oh, wait, here we go. Concordance. Okay. Peace from the earth. Kill. A great sword. Megas is great. And Macharia is translated sword. Macharia. A large knife used for killing animals. A small sword is distinguished from a large sword. A curved sword for cutting stroke. A straight sword for thrusting. So this is just a generic weapon and sword term. Whether it's a knife or small or a large sword. It's a sword. And then you got the large corollary on there with what was it? I'm thinking grande. Do I want a coffee right now? Magus, was that it? Yeah. Magus. Great, big, huge. Adjective. Great. In particular, its space and dimensions, mass and weight, compass and extent, measure and height, stature and age. Age, interesting. Number and quantity, use of intensity or of its degrees, great things, preeminent. There you go. So, yeah, it's a great sword. Bonter says maybe I'm thinking phosphorus or like okay, well that's chemical weapons. Like white phosphorus, like the Russians are fond of. They don't do illegal bombings. Yeah. It's not legal, by the way, obviously, chemical phosphorus for a weapon. That would kill life forms as opposed to buildings, yes, but it's really, that'd be really long. You'd have to have I don't know. That's not going to invade a country. A neutron bomb? What, is it sound waves? How would that not hurt a building? Enhanced. Oh, okay. Radiation weapon. A low yield thermonuclear weapon. Okay, well, it's thermonuclear is that's even the step above regular nuclear. But these are the big, ginormous reactions. Sometimes called oh my gosh. Shoot, it'll come to me. Designed to maximize lethal neutron radiation in the immediate vicinity of the blast while minimizing the physical power of the blast itself. Okay. The nuclear release generated by nuclear fusion is intentionally allowed to escape the weapon rather than to be absorbed. The neutron burst, which is used as a primary destructive action, is able to penetrate enemy armor more effectively than a conventional warhead, thus making it more lethal as a tactical weapon. The concept was originally developed in the United States, big surprise, in the late 50s and early 60s. It would be seen as a cleaner bomb used for use against massed Soviet armored divisions, as these would be used over Allied nations, notably West Germany. The reduced blast damage was seen as an important advantage. Tactical use, 1980. They retired in 1992, and the last one was disabled in 1996. So, I mean, I guess Iran can be using something in their arsenal like that, but it's not high tech anymore. Thanks for making me look that up, though. Yeah, it is a lower yield thing for sure, like any tactical nuke would be, but you still got a nuclear bomb out of it. Yeah. And again, not a new thing. It's an old thing. You know, what is it now? What year is it? 50, 60-year-old technology. Are we right on the timing here? Isn't Revelation 6:2 the Antichrist going out, or I'm misunderstanding that? You are misunderstanding that. It is not the Antichrist in the first seal. That's right. It is not. The Antichrist doesn't show up in Revelation 6 until after the fourth seal, between 4 and 5. And he's really not mentioned, other than in the fourth horse, you've got two characters, right? Death and Sheol. And we know that Israel signs the covenant with death and Sheol per Isaiah. So that is the time of the Antichrist. The first seal is not him. It corresponds to Daniel, as we've been talking about. If Iran is the second, the first is what we would call Babylon or Iraq. So I believe that prophecy is already done. It's ISIS or Saddam Hussein, depending on your view. But we've moved on now to the imminent threat being Iranian. I'm trying to bondservant. I'm trying to envision how they do this without shooting themselves in the foot, right? And Turkey can still attack and win. Exactly. You don't have to envision it because it's not logical. There would almost have to be a new, novel weapon system that would either psychologically or literally disable the enemy from doing anything about it. So probably maybe both, right? Maybe it's such an effective weapon that it just destroys anything it shoots or it aims for, and then the psychological trauma would be intense. Not just for the one you're shooting at, but you would think the rest of the world, what if no one else has that weapon? Or if it's just China, for example, that figured it out, or Russia, and now let's say, only Russia and Iran have this weapon. Oh. Yeah. So, pray about it more, my praying friends. The UFO community, you are welcome to give your opinion and insight. And we'd love to hear from you as always. Again, sharing this video would be fantastic. And it's a nascent idea. I'm going to write about it some more for sure, and possibly include it as a chapter in our forthcoming book. Probably. And it should probably be published regardless, but we're making we're starting to. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, love you too. Yeah, it may be part of the Preparing the Way book project, which is going to center on practicalities of the end of the age, right? Okay, I don't want to say full prepper mode here, but those who are the theater of conflict, which is not going to be the United States in the Bible scenario. You might have very real conflict here, war-wise and whatever, but as far as what the scripture is concerned with, we're talking about Israel, we're talking about Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, Turkey, Egypt. That's the Bible lands. That's where our focus should be, and that's what the book is going to be about. Now that we know what's going to happen, because Fleet of the Mountains, which is my first book in 2019, my first and only, okay, it's super small. I suggest you go buy one at Amazon or get a direct download at fleetothemountains.com. Fleetothemountains.com. Instant PDF download for $10 right on your computer or e-reader. Boom. There's an audiobook version read by me if you care about that on Audible. Of course, you can order your own on Amazon. You get paperback or hardcover. This is really expensive, honestly. It's ridiculously expensive for a hardcover now, but paperback is very reasonable. So go get that. Anyway, that's the first one. So we know that established the case that the church has to assist Israel during the final 7 years of the age, because they're, number one, we will be here. We will be here. And Jesus calls us to help the Jews, whether they believe or not, most of whom will not. What do we do about that? So the next project is going to be specifically all about that time. Okay, now we know where we're going, or where the mission is, what the mission is. So now how do we go about it in a very practical way? So pray about that. And that's part of the Patreon page. Again, if you look below, patreon.com/Wings of the Eagle, one of the ways you can support us is to support that book, that new project, and you can give monthly towards that. That would be fantastic, because we're going to need resources to get that done. Okay, I think we're good to go here, friends. And Bond Servant on that last point says, in my opinion, we need to practice helping Jewish people in the current situation, basically. Yeah, like whether they're in Israel fighting for their lives, for their survival, or even Jewish people in the West, in America, for example, who are terrified right now. With good reason. So yes, let's be all about that. All right, friends. Love you so very much. Thank you for being here. Please share this video if you will, especially YouTube. Very, very helpful. Help us out however you can, and we'll see you next time, Lord willing. There'll be a next Unsealed, but until then, Christopher Manti, hopefully your friend, either brother in Christ or UFO buddy, whatever. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.